Hello, everyone, and welcome to this month's webinar, More Than Fun and Games, Leisure Activities in Parkinson's. My name is Donna Greening, and I'm the Education Coordinator at Parkinson Canada. From coast to coast, we acknowledge the ancestral and unceded territories of Inuit, Métis, and First Nations peoples. We are always grateful for the expert speakers who join us to share their knowledge during the webinars. If you have questions about today's topic after the conclusion of the webinar, please contact your healthcare provider or Parkinson Canada's information and referral team. To access closed captioning, simply click on the CC Captions button at the bottom of your screen and then click on Show Subtitle. If you'd like to submit a question for our presenter, be sure to write it in the Q&A window. The chat window is there for you to say hello and talk amongst yourselves. As with all of our webinars, the resources and links mentioned today will be shared with you in an email afterwards, so there's absolutely no need to take any notes. And now, I'd like to introduce you to Certified Therapeutic Recreation Therapist, Kathy Park. Kathy studied fine art at the University of Saskatchewan in Saskatoon, and upon completing her BA, she worked at an art gallery for 2.5 years and taught fitness classes part-time. As her passion for art shifted to other interests, she decided to attend the University of Regina to obtain her degree in physical activity studies. Kathy has worked for more than 30 years as a recreation therapist in physical rehabilitation. She's provided treatment services that focus on leisure education and community integration to patients with neurological conditions. Currently, Kathy is working as a health educator for chronic disease prevention and management. She also works part-time as a sessional instructor at the University of Regina for the Faculty of Kinesiology. Aside from her work, Kathy lives in Regina, Saskatchewan with her husband and son. Her daughter just moved to Victoria, BC. She enjoys spending time with family and friends, going for walks with her husband, and watching her son curl, talking art with her daughter, playing board games, reading, gardening, and volunteering at her church. Welcome, Kathy.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. So I will just switch to my share screen here. Start it. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be sharing, I guess, my passion with you today on recreation and leisure. I've had so many people ask me what exactly recreation is or what is recreation therapy. And I usually end up saying, well, I'm not a physiotherapist. I'm not an occupational therapist. I'm not a exercise therapist. I'm a recreation therapist. I focus on leisure lifestyles. And as Donna said, my main focus has been on leisure education and recreation participation in the community integration. So we will get started here with a little bit more information for you. And I appreciate that Donna has already shared an acknowledgement with a land acknowledgement with all of us. So we will carry on to my first slide here. I usually at the end of Christmas, I'll go and buy a calendar from the calendar store, and I try to find one that has motivational sayings in it. And this is one from quite a few years ago. Life is like riding a bicycle. You must pump to keep moving. You must steer to go in a direction, and you must remain balanced to keep upright. Only then can you enjoy the scenery, which makes all the effort worthwhile. So just a little bit about what leisure education is, because some people may not know exactly what that involves. It's a process that helps people develop awareness of the value of leisure. It helps people identify potential leisure interests, learn new leisure skills, and acquire knowledge of leisure resources, not just in their community, but in their home and personal leisure resources, things that they're good at, and how to use them in order to achieve positive leisure functioning. So what is leisure? Well, there's 3 textbook definitions, and you might want to think about this a little bit. Does it mean time to you? Is it free time from obligations, work, self-care, those kinds of things? Is it more activity-based, the actual activity that you're doing? And it could be physical, it could be social, it could be creative, it could be spiritual. Or is it the state of mind, the experience, the meaning that brought to you while you were doing it? So what I found in my 30 years as a rec therapist is people have different definitions of leisure. And sometimes it can be time, sometimes it can be the activity, sometimes it can be the experience, sometimes it can be all 3. So it really depends. 3 questions that I like to ask when I'm doing a quick interview or assessment with a client is, what leisure activities do you enjoy doing? Who do you usually do these activities with? And what activities would you like to try? Now, I do have different assessments that I use when I work in rehab. And I've even developed specific assessments for people that have MS, people that have had a stroke. But honestly, these are the 3 questions that I'll usually start with. And so if you want to just take a minute there and think about, what activities do you really enjoy doing? Who do you like to spend your time with? And is there anything that you'd like to try? So I'll just give you a few seconds there to think about that. I'll often ask clients to at least list me 3 leisure activities that they enjoy doing. Sometimes we can get to 5. And many clients that I've worked with were very busy at one time, working a full-time job and, spending time doing activities with their family, with their children, running here and there with their children. So at a point when they've retired and now they've got all this leisure time on their hands, and then I ask them this question, they may have trouble answering it because they haven't really spent a lot of time focusing on this. What we want to talk about today are the benefits of leisure involvement. There's physical, there's social, cognitive, emotional. Those are probably the main, but there's lots of overlap with what we do, which is what you'll find as we go through the presentation today. So starting with physical activity, it's a movement that works your muscles and requires more energy than resting. So what kind of physical activity do you do? And are you doing it every day? Or something related to physical activity every day? And many people think, oh, I don't go to the gym. I don't do a fitness class in the community. That's okay. Are you gardening? Are you going for a walk in your community? Shopping? Just being active is so, so important. So just think about that for a couple of seconds. So reasons to engage in physical activity, and I know that we all know this. Sometimes we just have to be reminded every now and then. But improvement in cardiovascular system, improvement with the respiratory system, improvement with the immune system. And we've really had a couple of rough years with COVID. And what I'm noticing is when people are getting sick now with a cold, it seems to be 10 times worse than it would have been years ago because we've protected our immune system for so long. But there is improvement with the immune system when we're physically active. Increase and improvement with mobility, hopefully balance. That's, as we age, that's so, so important to maintain our balance. Maintain a healthy weight, improve sleep, help with pain management, help with stress management, improve psychological health, improve emotional health. I like to put things in order. And so I've kind of arranged these in that order. So If we see improvement in one area, we'll see improvement in another area. And ultimately, our psychological health and emotional health will benefit for sure. So just a note about exercise and what's, I think, most important for anyone that's maybe experiencing a chronic condition or chronic pain. We want to focus on a little bit of resistance training, some cardio training. Balance work is so important, and some stretching or flexibility. So in my new job right now, I'm the Forever in Motion coordinator for Regina and surrounding area. So I am training fitness leaders, peer fitness leaders, to teach fitness classes in all areas of the city. And it's really interesting because I'm used to being in community, but it's really interesting to be sort of working more in community now on the other side of the fence. And we've got all kinds of leaders throughout the city that are providing these education and physical activity sessions to individuals in our community. And that's the main focus: resistance training, a little bit of cardio training, but a lot of balance work and some stretching. Balance and mobility is so, so important as we age. So I wanted to try a sample warm up with you that I often do and that I've used many times in rehab. So if you're sitting at a chair, if you could get yourself in a position that you're sitting upright, try this with me. And I'm happy to share this at any point with you down the road if you'd like. You may have done something similar to this, but just take a deep breath in and exhale. Take another deep breath in and exhale. I want you to look up at the ceiling and then just look down at your knees. So it's a very small movement. Looking up at the ceiling, down at your knees. And then your head is center. I want you just to look over your right shoulder or your left, it doesn't matter. Center. Turn your head and look over the other shoulder. Center. One more time. Look over your shoulder. Center. Other shoulder. Center. And now just roll your shoulders back. Lots of people want to roll their shoulders forward, but I tend to focus on just rolling the shoulders back because we spend a lot of time in that forward position. Our shoulders are always forward. And then circle bent arms back. So you're just kind of bringing your arms, leading with your elbows in a circle, back and around. And then if you can, if you're able, full arm circles. And then nice and easy, reach one arm up, one arm down, and then switch. The other arm goes up and the other arm goes down. Again, one arm up, press the other one down at the same time this time. And then switch. Other arm is up, other arm is down at the same time. Now, what I like to do to work our brain just a little bit is do that all in a sequence, but just a couple times each. So if we can, look up at the ceiling, look down at your knees, head is center, look over one shoulder, center, over the other shoulder, center, roll your shoulders back, circle bent arms, circle full arms, reach one arm up, one down, and switch. And you could do that a couple of times. You could do that sitting, you could do that standing, you could do that walking. That would really help with balance and mobility. So some other physical activities, if we're not going to do the exercise type physical activities, would be dancing, gardening, swimming. Tai Chi is very, very good for anyone, especially, and there's been lots of research for individuals that have Parkinson's disease to do Tai Chi. Walking and yoga. I would recommend chair yoga. I've done that with clients. I don't know if any of you have done that, but it would be very interesting to try a few of these things if you haven't. Now, social well-being is the ability to communicate with others and build meaningful relationships. You know this. The ingredients of meaningful relationships, there's trust, there's support, and there's laughter. You enjoy spending time with family, with friends, with folks that you may be connected with through some organization. Maybe it's church, maybe it's a club, but that's so important to maintain those meaningful relationships. So sometimes I like to ask my clients, what are the ingredients of a perfect leisure day for you? And I've actually asked my university students this question as well when I've taught my classes. So just take a few seconds and think about what 5 ingredients would make a perfect leisure day for you. Is it food? Is it company? Is it the activity? Just think about that for just a few seconds here. And if I had to pick, mine probably would be being at home with my family, playing board games or watching a movie and sharing a nice meal. Honestly, I like the simple life. So just doing something like that on a Friday night would be a great way to spend some leisure time. So reasons to engage in social activities, we want to practice communication skills. And I've done lots of work with clients that have had a stroke, and I really want them to feel comfortable socializing. That's so important for them, especially if their speech has been affected, and for anyone that's had their speech affected in any way because of their condition. So to practice communication skills, develop some meaningful friendships, experience enjoyment and fun, and feel a sense of belonging. We all need that. We all want that. This also will help enhance one's identity. Sometimes when you've had a traumatic situation and you're not able to work anymore, or things have changed with your health, it does affect our identity. And some of the work that I've done in rehab is to help some of the clients just sort of rediscover a new or different identity, one that they can relate to now with their situation. So it really does help us enhance our identity and a sense of belonging when we can spend time with people and do some social activities with them. Now, do you all have your dice? This is a great game. I've played this many times in rehab, and I really like to suggest to my clients that they look at activities that they can do with family, with friends, or with their grandchildren, things that they can do at home. So if you've got your dice, and if you don't, that's okay. If you've got a pen or and a paper there, I can help you out here. So this is called the beetle dice game. So if we roll a 1, we can draw the body part. If we roll a 2, we can draw the head. If we roll a 3, we get a leg. So we have to throw a few 3s there. If we roll a 4, we can do draw an eye. If we roll a 5, an antenna, and 6, the tail. So I'm going to roll my dice. I have a 4. So you're going to have to draw an eye in the middle of your paper somewhere. Sometimes when I play this game with clients, I'll say, okay, we can't start the other parts of the beetle until we have the body part. But I break the rules lots when I play board games to keep people involved. So you've got one eye. We'll just do a few. I've got a 6 here. If you want to draw a tail, or if you've got your own set of dice there. Here's a 1. So if you can draw your body, the body of that beetle. Oh, another 6. So we don't need to do another tail. And another 6. I have to get a really good shake here. We'll do a couple more. 5, an antenna. And a 1. We've got the body, one more. Let's see if we can get a leg here. And a leg. So that's just a really simple dice game that you could do with your grandchildren or your family. Another really good dice game is, and I'm sure you've heard of this, is left, right, center. And that keeps everyone involved. I love games where they're not really competitive and it keeps people involved in the game and the activity. So social activities, and these are just a few: coffee with friends, discussion groups, an exercise group, family gatherings, playing cards or board games, or a social event. Now let's just talk a little bit about cognitive or intellectual functioning. This is the ability to learn and process information in order to engage in your environment and with others socially as well. So there's the overlap that I'm talking about. A lot of even physical activities. You can participate in an exercise class. It can be very social for some people. So there's a lot of overlap with the benefits of these different areas. So reasons to engage in intellectual activities helps us to understand and follow rules. It increases our attention span and our concentration. It'll enhance memory. It'll encourage verbal language, reading, arithmetic, using numbers, matching and sorting, improving problem solving, decision making skills. And you don't even realize it, honestly. So this is an area probably if someone was living in a care home, a long-term care facility, an assistant care facility, if there's occupational therapy there, they might focus on this area. If not, a recreation therapist certainly would provide some activities that would enhance this area. So I really like I Spy or I Spot the Difference books. And I've got a couple here. I can show you just from the dollar store. And they'll have pictures like that. And then you just spot. So this one's called Spot the Difference. I have another one here that's called Spot the Difference. And I don't have with me because it's at my work, my previous job. But there are even cards, and I remember I picked them up at the dollar store where you can spot the difference, and they're just like flashcards that you can use just from the dollar store. So those kinds of things are great to have on hand, and it really helps with scanning, looking. And if you can get some of those and just have them on the kitchen table or wherever, that would be so great for you just to sit down, take a few moments. It's almost like doing a crossword puzzle. What you see here, this picture, I actually, for my son's birthday party years ago, I made a seek and find with Lego. So I've got my list of activity or items there that the kids had to find. And I've got, you can't tell, but I've got that tray covered with plastic. So they couldn't do too much sorting with their hands there. They had to really look, use their eyes and scan and to see if they could find those items. Another great game that my kids love, and I've taken so many games to work with me. This is one that it's called Spot It, but there's different kinds. And this is a sample of the card. So when you play, you have to try to find, for example, a dinosaur on your card and someone else's card. I've used this so many times at work with clients. And it's just a really neat game to have on hand. It's not that expensive. I think it's under $15, it might be $10. So again, another neat game. Kind of all about the games. So some other cognitive intellectual activities, like I've said, board games, listening to podcasts, puzzles. I laugh because at Wascana Rehab Center on our rehab unit, there is always one or two puzzles that clients are working on or patients are working on. And I really under 500, not 1,000. And with a really bright colored picture. Often I'm up on the unit sifting through the puzzles because they might be too difficult, but puzzles are great. And if you can start small and build up and make sure you get puzzles that the pieces are bigger. You can even get puzzles now where it goes from one side to the other, where it goes large pieces to small pieces. It's a puzzle that you can do with your grandchildren. Reading, trivia, word games, those are all great to do for intellectual stimulation. So I have some pictures here because my student and I decided to put together some leisure education kits, for lack of a better word. We weren't really sure what to call them. This is one that focuses more on discussions or topics, I guess. So a history book, there's one there, Regina, the first 100 years. I've got some books on Saskatchewan. There's a book in there on just weird Canadian words. There's a little box there, and in that box is some trivia questions. So what we've done is we've created these kits. We've put them on the unit where our clients are at Wascana Rehab Center. And so they can just take the kit to their room and do some of these activities with family, with friends, or if there's a group of them in the common area, the dining area, they can do this. I wanted to throw in some slides about the physical benefits of games. And I don't think we realize just how much playing a game benefits us. So there's visual tracking and scanning. There could be range of motion, even just taking the dice, reaching, grasping and releasing, some fine motor skills depending on the game. Here's another leisure kit. This one has more dice related games. So there's Yahtzee. There's the pass and play or the left, right, center game, which you can pick up. It's just either in a box or a little tube. And it's a great dice game to play with 4 people, or you could play it with 10 people. And then 4-way countdown. These are all items that I've picked up on sale somewhere. And usually after Christmas, is the best time to buy some of these things in the calendar store or at Toys R Us or Walmart. So some cognitive benefits of games, understanding and following rules, some strategy, concentration, attention span. All these areas, we'll see some improvement. Memory, verbal language skills, reading, arithmetic, again, number recognition, matching and sorting, decision making. And I highlighted matching and sorting because it doesn't have to be with games. That can be with anything. If you can match and sort pictures or buttons or nuts and bolts, anything that might help you just work on some of those skills a little bit. Our occupational therapists, this is an area that they would probably focus on. But I have been in a couple of facilities where they actually have stations set up and they have little cards that say, go ahead and sort the brushes. And so someone can just stop and sort the brushes and, you know, wander on to the next station. So some things to think about. This is another leisure kit that focuses more on card games. I am not a crib player, but I have played crib with some clients. The Play 9 golf game there has become very popular with some of my clients. And I've got card holders there. So if you needed a card holder, they can be found and they're very helpful. I like to get cards with the bigger numbers, but you have to be careful. Sometimes they're very, very slippery. So you want to shuffle them a few times, wear them out a little bit. So again, another leisure kit that's housed on our unit for people to use. Emotional benefits of games, playing fair, showing a concern for others, self-esteem, relaxation, experiencing joy, just having fun. This is another leisure kit. So there you can see the Spot It booklet that I bought. Great big word finds. There's a Snap It game. And I think that small card deck there, picture this, that's the one I was talking about with the pictures. And you have to guess what the picture is or you have to match it. Pickles to Penguins, that's a really good game. So again, some items that you could do on your own or you could do with someone else or a group. Social benefits of games, social interaction, taking turns, cooperation, a little bit of competition, working with a team, giving and receiving feedback. So those are all great social benefits. And again, just the sharing with a group of people or a couple of other people and experiencing some joy and laughter. This is another leisure kit that I have. Got Scrabble in there. We've got some great big crosswords. Again, there's another trivia game, word Yahtzee. That's a little bit different than Yahtzee. You have to create some words there. And you can't see it, but in behind are a couple of books that are just trivia books. And those I've used lots of with a group of people, but I have used them one-on-one. Emotional well-being. So a person's ability to control their actions so they can manage stressful situations. Sometimes we hear the word coping, but coping and managing are very different. Coping suggests less control. Managing implies that you have more control. So I tend to use that word more often. So if we can manage stressful situations a little bit better, it just makes things a lot easier if we're dealing with a chronic condition. So reasons to engage in emotional activities helps with stress management, relaxation, improves the mood, more positive attitude. We can experience self-expression, be a little bit creative there, increase feelings of self-worth, have a sense of purpose, and promote a sense of stability. So something I wanted to try with you, and maybe you've done this before, but relaxation is so important when you're dealing with any kind of chronic condition or chronic pain. So if we can focus a little bit on some deep breathing, that's really important. And I don't do this as often as I should, but this one I do like, and it makes sense to me. So if you would like to try this with me, that would be great. So I'd like you to start at A. I want you to inhale to B and then exhale as you go to C. Inhale down to D, exhale as you go to A. So you're just creating a box. So let's try it again. Inhale at A, up to B, exhale to C, inhale from C to D, and from D to A, exhale. Good. The other thing I've used with clients is I've had them put stickers of butterflies throughout their room. And whenever they see the butterfly sticker, just to take a moment and take a deep breath in and think of the butterfly wings slowly moving. So inhale and exhale. So it's just little reminders for people to take a moment, do some deep breathing, try to calm themselves a little bit. So some emotional activities, and these could be spiritual as well, drawing or painting, doing some journaling or writing, just listening to music, some meditation, getting outside, walking in nature, scrapbooking for some people, or just going through pictures. Honestly, if someone's really struggling to connect, music, nature, pet therapy, those are kind of the 3 to go to things that you might want to look at doing. Find out what kind of music they enjoy doing. If they like animals, look at some pet therapy. If they're used to working outside at some point, and they're missing that, try to get outside and enjoy some nature, or just outside in the garden, or do some gardening inside. Which brings me to my leisure kit here related to, well, this is watercolors, but what I wanted to show you is I've done a full program where we've done some decoupage on pots. And again, you can buy the pots at the dollar store. You can buy the little pieces of colored paper. You can buy the glue. And it is just Mod Podge, decoupage glue. And you can decoupage a pot, and then you can get some dirt, some seeds, fill those pots up. And then when spring is all done and it's dry outside and you want to plant those flowers outside, you can do that. So there's a whole process there. So again, another idea. I keep losing my mouse here because I keep moving things around. Now, I just want to talk a little bit about leisure resources. There's personal leisure resources. This is a person's abilities, their strengths, their talents. What are they good at? What were they good at? So you might want to look at their experiences related to leisure, but can you just take a couple seconds here? Can you list 5 personal leisure resources for yourself or for your loved one? And then this slide talks about home leisure resources. So a person's home environment, this includes family and friends. The home is a very important leisure resource. Sometimes we think we have to be outside or we have to be in an organized leisure activity for it to be leisure. Not necessarily. Not everyone wants to be involved in something that's organized outside the home. So can you think about 5 leisure resources within your home? And one could certainly be a laptop or computer, board games, those kinds of things that you might do with family, with friends, or even on your own. And then the next slide looks at community. So what's available in your community? What leisure facilities, services, and programs can you access in your neighborhood or in your community? And if you can think of 5 that you can access, that would be great. Sometimes 5 is too many. Sometimes I'll ask people, well, start with 3. See how far you get with 3. So I don't have a lot of time to talk about community engagement, but you might hear the term community integration. I tend to use the word community engagement or community involvement. So again, it helps with cognitive well-being, psychological well-being, social well-being. And this is where I've done most of my work, is helping clients get back to doing some things in their home, in their community, exploring what's available in their community for them to do. Sometimes it throws us off. It's a big step, right? But start with what you're comfortable with. Go for coffee with a friend. Go for a walk in your neighborhood. Go to church with your family. Go to the grocery store with your spouse. Go to the dollar store and pick out some activities for yourself to do. Go to a sporting event that the grandchildren might be involved in. So just start small, and then you'll be more comfortable experiencing some of the things that you did before, just in a different way. So I threw this slide in at the last minute. I do not work in long-term care, but my mom did live in long-term care for a few years, and my husband's dad and now my husband's mom is in long-term care, and I've got lots of friends, co-workers that work in long-term care. So these are just some examples of activities that they might do or programs they might do in long-term care. And it depends who the staff is. You might see more programs if there's rec therapists that maybe, depending on the staff, if there's just 1 or 2, if they've got a strong number of rec therapy staff, then that's where you might see more one-on-one, which I think is so important for some of our clients that are in long-term care, to have some one-on-one interaction with a therapist. But anyways, there's just a list of things. There's some of those things you could probably even do at home, and just to give you an idea. Not sure if some of you still have the Wii, but we still have the Wii in my house here. My boy still plays the Wii, and there's still some great games there that can be played with all kinds of levels. So I just wanted to share with you sort of the stores I usually check out when I'm starting to purchase a few things. I'll start with the dollar stores, then I'll make my way to Walmart, Toys R Us. I'll check out the calendar stores at Christmas time. Winners has some games, puzzles. I'll maybe even go to Chapters or Indigo, to the bookstores. Michael's, PB Mart. I've thrown that in there because in rehab we have purchased their bird houses that you can put together and take apart. So a lot of our clients in occupational therapy will put these bird houses together and then take them apart. So sometimes you can get some really neat activities there. Often Christmas time, I think I have found a few, and I have found some in the spring. Canadian Tire is another place that you might want to go. And then if I can, this is a great resource catalog. And what I have found in my home and at work, if you leave things out, people will use them. If we tuck them away, we forget about them, we don't use them. And sometimes if I leave you with anything, the process sometimes is more important than the end result. I remember with my first job working with a gentleman in an adult day program, and he was always restless, wandering around. And we had a bit of a craft program, and I had him sanding a piece of wood that we were going to later paint and make birdhouses. And he was so content sanding that wood, I just left him. And the other staff wanted to move on and take the piece of wood and paint it. And I said, no, just leave him. I don't care if he sands that piece of board to nothing. He's content, he's happy, and we're just going to leave him. Let him sand that piece of wood. Here's some trivia games. So there's all kinds of different activities here. They're a little bit pricey, some, but they often have sales. So just some more ideas for you to think about. And then I always like to sort of end with a quote. Life is like a tennis match. It's more fun to play than sit on the sidelines. Again, another one of those desktop calendar sayings. So I'll stop there.
Well, that was really great. That was lots of really great ideas of what people can do for leisure. And I know we've got some questions. So we're
Okay.
going to move right into some questions that we got. Um, Someone asked, and there's two questions that are kind of similar. So someone asked, what are some appropriate activities to do when dementia is present? And another person has said that they have a partner who is in a long-term care facility,
Okay.
also sometimes referred to as a CHSLD or nursing home, depending where you are in the country. And they're saying that they can no longer walk and they hardly talk, almost speaking in a whisper, with diminishing sight, dementia, hallucinations, and Parkinson's dreams. And so they're wondering what they can do. I just want to add first, before you answer though, that if this is the situation that you've got where you've got a lot of different um, challenges that the person that you care for is dealing with, Parkinson Canada's information and referral team can answer a lot of your questions and send you resources as well. But in terms of the actual leisure activities in for someone who's got dementia and is further along in their Parkinson's journey, what would you recommend for activities for someone who's experiencing those challenges?
Yes, and those are very good questions. May not be so easy for me to answer. I would hope that there would be a recreation therapist working in those facilities that would do a full assessment of what the person's past leisure interests were and start focusing on that, because you could do some reminiscing therapy, you could do some sensory stimulation. Sometimes that takes one-on-one. Like I said before, music and animal therapy, or involving clients in any kind of nature, those seem to spark, I've seen it, seems to spark interest that we maybe don't expect to see. I think the hardest thing is to figure out what did they used to do? Can we bring some of that back into their where they live now? And if not, then we've got to look at some alternatives that are most appropriate. Um, my mom had dementia. It was really, it's very difficult, right? One of the things I keyed in when she had her episodes about 3 or 4 in the afternoon was that both my parents served during the World War II, and they were used to going to the Legion at 4 o'clock every afternoon or every second day for a drink and to play cards when they retired. So I had the staff actually, and I had it written in her care plan to have her sit and have her non-alcoholic wine or Pepsi or 7-Up. And I requested that they put it in her care plan. So they had to do it. And so that kind of helped a little bit, because it was something she was familiar with. So if we
Right.
could find something they're familiar with.
Thank you. So someone else has asked, after they do an activity together, for instance, going out for lunch or visiting at a friend's home, for the next day or so, their partner is shut down. Basically, that they don't want to talk. They're not eating unless they're being fed. I guess that's just taken everything they could to do that particular activity. Because of very poor mobility, some activities are not possible. And so, do you have any suggestions for in cases where that person has just spent a lot of their energy um, getting through, either going to appointments or doing other activities? What would you suggest for cases like that?
I don't know that I have an answer for that one. I know that with some of the clients I've worked with, they really have to look at energy conservation and what they do each day. So if you know that you're going to have a day that you're going to be out and about, then you need to maybe plan for the next day to be at home or to have a
Mhm.
very relaxed day at home. And it sometimes I think it's too much too at the end of the day. Sometimes our clients have worked so hard to try to remember what they need to do. That best part of their day might be morning. You got to figure that out too. What is the best part of the day for us to do some of these activities? Because by 3 o'clock, they may be tired of trying to remember how to do things or what to do. I don't know if that helped or not, or if that answered. Um,
Yeah, I think that's really great advice, like maximizing the time when they're at their best, and if they're not, maybe something where it's more passive, like you said, reminiscing or looking at pictures, something like that would be
mhm,
good too, right?
for sure.
Hmm. So we've had quite a few questions.
Okay.
About motivation.
Oh,
One of the common symptoms of Parkinson's is apathy. So a lot of people are asking, what can they do when the person in their life who has Parkinson's is not motivated to play games? They're apathetic. They're not even interested in fun and games. What can you suggest to help motivate someone to get more interested in leisure activities?
that's such a good question. And it's even in fitness, uh, it's really hard to motivate people. We really can't motivate them. Can we somehow inspire them or figure out intrinsically what makes them kick or tick or what's their passion? Um, I know if you could find some type of game or activity that, and you might spend a little bit of money, you might be exploring a little bit here, but if you could find something that would entice them to do it again or do more. And I've seen it with clients. Sometimes we're too close and we want them to do these activities, but if we can find a friend to come in and do that activity, and sometimes if they see that it's okay that their friend is doing this, then maybe I can join in, because sometimes we can nag, right? And we know what's best, but if we could take ourselves out of the equation and let someone else maybe step in, and I don't know, that might help. I'm reading some of the chats here. Lego, someone mentioned Lego. That is not just for kids. Lego is for anybody. Jigsaw puzzles are great. And I think sometimes just, again, like I said before, having it sitting out and maybe not always suggesting that they do it, it might help. I don't know, but for sure we do need to sometimes move people along, and I sometimes will tell clients this is part of your therapy.
Mhm.
And then, oh, okay, and then we take it from that angle.
So it's more of a have to do.
Yes.
That motivator that this is a part of what
Sometimes
you're
that
supposed to
works.
do. Hmm. And when you mentioned Lego, it brought to mind that someone else had sent in a suggestion that they get their partner to build figures out of Lego, and they gift them to their grandchildren. And
Oh,
so the grandchildren are excited because they get to have a keepsake from the grandparent, and it also gives the grandparent that motivation to make something because they're making something that they know their grandchildren are going to be excited about too. So that was a really neat suggestion as well.
yes. That
Mhm.
really works. If you can find something, if there's a purpose to doing the activity and not just to do it, sometimes that will help.
Mhm.
So if some type of wood project that you might be able to do. I've had some clients in the past, woodworkers that we, weren't able to maybe go back to doing what they did before, but we could find some small projects for them and they could sand and paint. And those were items that they were, like you said, could give to someone else or donate. So if you can find a purpose in the activity.
Mhm. Right. All right. Question for you that was submitted live. Um, Someone is asking, um, do you have any Parkinson's specific activities you like to do on your unit? I can see all of what you've discussed as being beneficial, but just curious if you've had any winning activities for people with Parkinson's. Like, what are your favorites?
I'm trying to remember if we haven't actually had anyone with Parkinson's on the rehab unit, but we've had people that have Parkinson's disease live. Kawaskan, I don't know if any of you know, it's a very large facility, and half of it is rehab. The other half, people live there. So we have had people that have lived there, um, and I know even where my mother-in-law lives right now, there's a couple people there that do have Parkinson's that are actually fairly young. So I don't know that I can answer that. Really, anything that I've suggested you could do, they're very general, what I'm suggesting. If I was their recreation therapist, I would do a full scale assessment, asking them all kinds of different questions. And then I might do some leisure exploration where I might try a few different activities with them to see what they enjoyed doing. And we'd go from there. That takes a little bit of time, but if they're on a unit or if they're living in a facility where there's recreation staff, I would hope that they would be doing some of that with them.
Right. I guess the answer could be as varied as the makeup of the people who are in that unit, because there could be people who aren't interested in a particular thing, and then it's not going to be a hit there. So
That's
I
right.
guess the answer
And
is as varied as the person with Parkinson's.
yes, and I don't always focus on the condition, I focus on the person and what the person's interests, what their interests were, what their abilities are now, and go from there. So I tend to, that's how, my thinking, and that's how I teach at the university as well. I teach them focus on the person, not so much the condition or the disability.
Okay.
I had another thought there. Sorry. Mm. Oh, things are going to change down the road because baby boomers are now moving into these facilities. So they're not wanting the standard programming that's been offered in the past few years. So I could see some things changing down the road here with that.
Thank you. So someone is asked about the challenge of having balance, like physical balance, and with as a person with Parkinson's, that's a challenge that they have. And
Yes,
do
it
you have
is.
any suggestions for leisure activities that can either improve or help maintain balance?
Well, there's static balance and then there's balance with movement, right?
Mhm.
There's all kinds of, and there's even more now. I don't know if anyone's aware of, um, there's some things online now that you can take, and one is SAS Neuro. And I do know about that. It's a group of physiotherapists in Saskatoon that have developed this exercise program every Tuesday and Thursday. I think it's at 2 o'clock our time. And it's for people with chronic conditions like Parkinson's, like MS, and or stroke. And they do a half an hour class sitting, and there's even some balance work you can do sitting. A lot of what I'm teaching now in my job is how to do some balance work standing with the chair. So you always want to make sure that something's close by, and there's different types of exercises. So I can't actually say what exercises to do unless I know the person, but I see something here. It's actually called NeuroSAS. There we go. And they also share some really good information. Forever in Motion is a provincial incentive that, and they have a class that's on Tuesdays at 1 o'clock, I believe. That comes from Saskatoon as well. It's a little bit advanced, but there's some activities there, and they'll tend to talk about fall prevention and staying on your feet and balance and mobility. So it might be helpful to watch some of those videos and pick up on a few things.
Great. And I'll send the link to NeuroSask. I'm aware of that program too, so I'll make sure that
Okay.
we send that out. Last question that we can take is where can we find books like Spot the Difference? Where would you
I found
suggest to look?
I found the ones I found at Dollar Tree, but I usually check all the dollar stores and
Mhm.
even the dollar stores with the same name because they have different stuff. So I've gone to, yeah, Dollar Tree or Dollar Store. There's probably different names throughout Canada here, but yeah, and it's usually in with the children's books. So you have to do a little bit of search and find yourself.
Yeah, and I found them online at Amazon as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Uh,
I've got a book that's pretty interesting from Amazon.
and if you type in I Spy printables, there's lots that come up. I couldn't show those, but I've used those, and they've got all kinds of different ones, different themes.
Great. Well, thank you so much. We've run out of time to take any more questions today. If you have unanswered questions or you want to contact Parkinson Canada's information and referral team after the webinar, they can be reached at 1-888-664-1974 or support@parkinson.ca. Everyone here today is going to be receiving a follow-up email with a link to a recording of the webinar and links to all of the resources that we mentioned, along with contact information for the information and referral team. I hope you'll join us at our next webinar, Food for Thought, Parkinson's, Nutrition, and Culinary Medicine, taking place on Wednesday, March 21st from 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern. Watch your email inboxes in early March for our e-newsletter, which will include more information about the webinar and the registration link. On behalf of all of us at Parkinson Canada, I'd like to thank you for joining us, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.